what happens in America actually affects the rest of the world because their foreign policy has such ripples. And I actually think that they have lost the right to elect their own presidents. They cannot be trusted. And I actually think the world needs to step in the same way you do at a bar and say, okay, that's enough elections for you.
You've had enough.
Right?
You've had enough.
You've had enough.
Yeah.
Because you could re-elect Trump.
All Trump stories this week. So let's tackle the big one first, which was about his appearance in Home Alone 2. Because, you see, there's a running controversy here. Years ago, the director, Christopher Columbus, claimed that Trump had said that they could only use his hotel, and it was the Plaza in Home Alone 2, if he could have a cameo, and said he basically bullied his way into it. And indeed, he does have a habit of doing this. He's had dozens of cameo appearances in TV series and films, Trump has, including Sex and the City and Zoolander and Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps and 2 Weeks Notice and so on. And various people have said, yes, he basically does make this demand. If you want to use his property, then he has to get a cameo. But Trump, in a long post on his mad website, Truth Social, this week denied that. He said, I was very busy and didn't want to do it. They were very nice, but above all persistent, and I agreed, and the rest is history. And the movie was a big success and still is, especially around Christmas time, and people call me whenever it's aired, which seems to show a degree of misunderstanding as to how people watch TV these days, but never mind. Daliso, what do you think? Whose side are you on? Do you think Donald Trump is telling the truth here?
Of course he's not telling the truth. I mean, there's just one of those things where Trump bullied himself into any situation. And, of course he did. Absolutely he did. There's nothing surprising about this story at all. But what I do find entertaining is that he then takes credit for its success.
Yes.
He's got one of those things where he takes credit of anything that happens that has nothing to do with it, that is because of me, and anything that fails, that is not because of me. Things he doesn't know about. My career, he doesn't know who I am, but if he heard about it, he'd be like, oh yes, of course, that is because he once made a joke about me. Like absolutely everything in his world is based on him. I actually always say his pronouns are me, myself, and I.
Yeah, but do you admire that, or do you envy that, or does it bother you?
No, what bothers me is that it's so successful, because he is a character type who, if I was reading Dickens, he would be the blathering idiot who is not going to succeed in anything. What's frustrating is in this current world, these traits which should be laughable have just led him from success to another success. Lying blatantly has led to political success. He breaks all the rules. I don't understand.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But Libby, if you had a hotel and they wanted to film Home Alone, I don't know what it'd be now, 7 in it, you'd want to be in it. That'd be your price, right?
Well, actually,
imagine
the last thing
test
I'd
audiences cheering at the sight of Libby Purvis as she turns up, speaking nicely to whoever Macaulay Culkin is these days.
I just want to put some. I'd want to put some extra jokes in the script, which they had to use. I think I'd like to sort of be on the sidelines there. But the whole Trump thing, I mean, he's about to spend a whole year electioneering basically from the dock. He's got all these cases coming up, and the whole thing is, as Daliso was saying, it's almost incomprehensible. We had some very jolly Christmas times with our American branch of our family, and it sort of felt right not to mention Trump, even in passing, since he's supposed to be leading at the moment. It's the same way you wouldn't mention if someone had spinach on their teeth or a pigeon crapping on their head. You just sort of think, let's talk about something else, shall we? For all good and wise Americans in this nonsensical situation, I really feel, I mean, if this was us, I mean, we've had Boris, that's been bad enough, but what is going on there, and the possibility that he could be president again and immediately pardon himself for all his crimes is mind-boggling. It's hard to take in. So as I say, we kind of kept off the subject.
But I mean, it is mind-boggling. I mean, so basically this week, I think the state of Maine followed the lead of Colorado in blocking him from appearing on the Republican primary ballot because, in their words, he has engaged in insurrection. It probably won't make that much difference because I think both Maine and Colorado traditionally go Democrat. But Libby, the fact that, I don't know, something slightly sort of nags at me about the way we talk about this, that people go, oh, well, Trump could win again, they're all so mad. I mean, and none of which I disagree with. But for him to win again, a majority of Americans need to vote for him. And I just don't feel I'm kind of being informed in any respect as to why they're going to vote for him. Is that fair? Sorry,
But I
Daliso.
think there's a very important thing which you're bringing up. You see, what happens in America actually affects the rest of the world because their foreign policy has such ripples. And I actually think that they have lost the right to elect their own presidents. They cannot be trusted. And I actually think the world needs to step in the same way you do at a bar and
Right.
say, okay, that's enough elections for you.
You've had enough.
Right?
You've had enough.
You've had enough.
Yeah.
Because you could re-elect Trump. It literally the metrics by which they vote are sometimes puzzling.
Yeah, I mean, but it could very much happen. Libby, do you feel you understand why it might happen? Do you feel, or do you feel we and by extension American media has just sort of lost touch with what's going on there in exactly the way they promised not to do last time after it happened?
Sometimes I feel I sort of understand it because I understand about anger. I understand about people feeling that the country they thought they had was being taken from under their feet by all sorts of well-meaning metropolitan liberals, who think that they're a basket of deplorables. I can kind of get that feeling, and we get little echoes of it here sometimes, and it leads to some really terrible politics and terrible campaigning and terrible things like the surge in anti-Semitism here. But I sort of understand, and I think there's a big lump in the middle of America which we do not listen to nearly enough. Because all the journalists and so on, they're either down in Hollywood, thinking about stars and thinking about sort of liberal posturizers like Meghan Markle and company down in Montecito, or else they're on the other coast, they're in New York, possibly Boston. It's another world. But there's a great big lump of Middle America which thinks what it thinks. And I think you have to take that into account and say, yeah, they're there, they exist, they're real. I have to say, we're talking about all the states. Nevada is absolutely my favorite because I hope this is true. But when I was in Las Vegas last year, I was told that there's the Trump Tower there, and it's the only big building without any casino in it and no gambling in it because the state of Nevada would not give Trump a gambling license as a fit and proper person, even when he was president.
Wow.
I hope this is true. If so, I love the great state of Nevada, and I may go and live there.
Wow. You get the impression they'd give one to anyone. Sorry, Daliso. Yeah.
There's also one thing which is very unique about Trump is that he has fans. In fact, he has people who absolutely are dedicated to him in a way that I can't think of a politician. I can think of people who might be, who like Rishi Sunak, but I couldn't think of die-hard fans who have his face on T-shirts. They are people who follow Trump. Doesn't matter what he does, doesn't matter what he's indicted for, they are Team Trump no matter what. And I think that's what makes him a phenomenon like none before, because it doesn't matter if he's convicted, because they're just like, well, it's just the elites conspiring against him. It doesn't matter what happens, nothing will change their mind. No smoking gun would make them change their mind.
That's true. You see things about people have like tattoos of Donald Trump. If you are out there and you know someone who has a tattoo of Rishi Sunak, hell, even a tattoo of Boris Johnson, I'd love to hear about it.